right, let's get into this, shall we? Here we go. Greetings and salutations, everyone. After that terrible Thursday night football game, for obvious reasons, besides the fact that the only relevant fantasy piece there was what, Nelson Aguilar and the New England Patriots defense. We sit here on Thursday night and we wonder to ourselves, is there a possibility that we could abolish Thursday night football games? Could we just give these players more rest, more time to at least find some sort of, I don't know, man. It just feels like they're throwing them in 2 days after, and it's just brutal. I mean, the fact that Quandre Ollison is the starting running back today of the Atlanta Falcons pretty much just kind of expresses my narrative. The fact that we don't even know who the starter is for a respective team is unbelievable. On top of that, the New England Patriots backfield looks like a committee, back all over again. Obviously, after, Ramondre Stevenson had his 100-yard game, 2 touchdowns, could add 4 touchdowns in that contest. Either way, welcome everybody. We're going to be talking here for the next, hour and 40 minutes. I'll be here until 10 p.m. my time, answering questions, helping you guys out with your weekly lineups. Any questions in terms of how to improve your teams, going for the rest of the way. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and I will be your guide here today to kind of talk you into not trading away your best players, not to collude with other people, and to make sure that, everything is going just fine the rest of the way through. So I'm going to go ahead, look at the chat. Let's see what you guys have to ask. Any questions? If you guys could, do me a solid. Click that like button down below. It may seem like an insignificant thing to do and very little effort, but I can assure you it does help this channel out a lot, more than anything that you guys could possibly do. That like button is super easy, so just smash that button and help me out. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, really quickly here. Joe sent in a donation. I appreciate that, Joe. He says, traded Kamara, Ingram, and Keenan Allen for Najee Harris and T. Higgins. Okay. My top wide receivers are Kupp, Deontay Johnson, Brandon Cooks, and my top running backs are Aaron Jones, Najee Harris, and Taylor. Yeah, I would say that I don't mind it because Kamara, Ingram it's just a singular back at this point now because it's one or the other on a given week. For Najee Harris, I don't mind taking Najee there. Actually, I'd prefer it rest of the season. And then Keenan Allen versus T. Higgins, you are obviously taking an L here in terms of the total trade as a whole. But I can understand why you did it. It's all good. I mean, you still have a fantastic team with Taylor and all those boys, so you'll be fine. Okay, here we go. Let's see here. Oh, did my internet just go out? Dude, every week with this internet, man. Oh, it actually did. I think my internet dipped out for a second there. I'm just going to keep going. What's up, David? How you doing, Mr. Ramos? Hope you're doing well. Let's see here. RIP, who played the New England defense? I mean, yeah, if you played against New England's defense this week, you are in trouble, especially after Josh Rosen decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to throw a pick and go ahead and ruin everyone's week here. Let's see here. Who is the running back for Seattle, and is it worth stashing against Arizona? I mean, based off what we've seen this season already, the starting running back for the Seattle Seahawks is Alex Collins right now. It doesn't seem like Chris Carson's coming back this week, and we're just going to have to roll with the punches and see how everything kind of proceeds from here on forth. What do you think about the Patriots versus Bills in the AFC, Andrew? I mean, this is a Bills division, and it may take a couple of years for Mac Jones to at least get a couple more pieces around him to solidify himself as properly the division favorite. But for right now, I think the Bills are the better team in that division. And I guess they'll have to prove that in the next couple of weeks as they'll play one another. But certainly, I think the Bills are the better team there. But either way, I mean, these are both playoff teams. I mean, the Patriots are they're 7-4 right now. They're certainly in the playoff hunt at this point. I played against Nick Folk. Oof, yeah, that is rough. Dude, I cannot believe that the Patriots offensively were nothing today. I mean, I get it. It's a short week, and that's what I was talking about. We want to abolish those Thursday night games because players are not healthy, and, they just came off of a game in which they had a million car crashes in a row. Now they have to run it again. It's tough. It certainly is. Mike Shu says, trade Kamara for Cook. Yeah, I would trade Alvin Kamara for Dalvin Cook if I could. Yes, I would. Let's see here. A simple tissue says, Where do you rank Rashad Bateman this week if Hollywood gets ruled out? Yeah, I mean, if Hollywood Brown is out this week with his, I think it's a quad injury, something of that extent, something with his leg. If he is out this week, Rashad Bateman is a huge plus. As to what exact number, I don't know. We'll know that by Sunday morning when I stream, because I'll obviously have to kind of dictate, all right, if he's the number one wide receiver on that offense and he's most likely going to pull some, tougher coverage, what is the chances that he gets, I would assume that he could very easily be in that like 25 to 28 range. Easily. Like no doubt about it. But can he get higher? That's the determining factor that I have to kind of calculate in my mind and see what I have in terms of his projections this week. Lee Shakur sends in a question. Says, what's up? What's some trades you would take for Alvin Kamara? I mean, at this point, if you're able to get a top-tier running back for Alvin Kamara, you should. Because Alvin Kamara has obviously already shown us that he's not fully healthy right now. And the fact that he missed practice today is very, I guess, demoralizing to an extent, because I thought he was on the right track to, get back to being healthy. I mean, all right, so I'll just go ahead and rattle names. If you can get Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, Austin Eckler, Ezekiel Elliott, if you can get, honestly, if you can get, I don't, it's crazy for me to even say it, but maybe at this point, Joe Mixon's not even a bad option for him. If you can get running backs of that caliber, Christian McCaffrey, then I'm willing to go for it. But it's got to be top tier running back talent. It can't be anything less than that. So it's got to be top 5 or nothing. Let's see here. Guy I'm playing. Okay, this is from Stone Mason Jar. Says the guy I'm playing had the Patriots defense and Folk. RIP, dude. My condolences. That's a rough way to start the week, to say the very least. Vengeful says 94-13 in 3 weeks. Just wow. What is that exactly? Is that how many points that the Patriots have scored in comparison to their opposing offenses? Yeah. The Patriots have been kind of crazy, huh? As of late, yeah. Atlanta is horrible. Yeah, they're terrible. Without Ridley and without Cordero, they are not a functioning offense. They cannot work. They cannot function. The offensive line's not good enough. The quarterback play is certainly not good enough, and it is showing. Bateman didn't practice today. Yeah, look, as long as he practices tomorrow, that's all I care about. I don't really care about Thursdays too much. I think Friday is the end-all, be-all. If there's no practicing tomorrow, then at that point, yes, I would expect him to potentially miss. And even if he plays, he'd be in a limited capacity. Tyler says, my season is done for, but I'm here just soaking in wisdom. I appreciate that, Tyler. Sorry to hear that your season is done for. There's a variety of potential outcomes that could have not gone your way, whether it is, I know a lot of people that drafted Christian McCaffrey and their season was done for 3 weeks ago because they just couldn't pick up wins. They couldn't get Hubbard. And that's just the nature of the beast of fantasy football. That's why I want to play in as many leagues as I possibly can. That's why I play in 13 redraft leagues. That's why I play with Underdog Fantasy. There's just another way to play all the time. Again, for those of you who haven't checked out Underdog Fantasy, use promo code Andrew. There's a link down in the description. If you go ahead and sign up today using promo code Andrew, Underdog Fantasy is willing to match up to $100 of your first deposit. Again, I played the contest today. I didn't do very well, even though I had the top 2 running backs. I literally had Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. I thought they're going to blow them out. Didn't matter, because as long as you didn't have Nelson Aguilar in your lineup, you pretty much weren't in a good position. So it was unfortunate. But hey, it's fun to go ahead and get an extra incentive to watching these really boring Thursday games nonetheless. Let's see here. Do you think Najee Harris is a top 5 running back rest of season? Absolutely, Jack. I do believe so, yes. As long as he stays healthy, he certainly should be. Rod says, thoughts on Damian Harris in a full PPR going forward? Well, in a full PPR, he certainly is not going to get as much value because his floor in terms of the cap in comparison to other running backs isn't as strong because he's not catching the ball. There's still Brandon Bolden. There's still Ramondre Stevenson. So he's a low-end RB2 at this point because of the amount of snaps he obviously shared today. If that is going to persist, then of course he's going to be a low-end RB2 going forward, and even potentially an RB3 if he doesn't score touchdowns. But I anticipate him to get back to scoring touchdowns in the coming weeks. That's not to be, worried about. All right, let's see here. I'm in last place. I traded Cordero for Lenny. I have no running backs for the week other than Gibson. I don't know if there was a question there, Trees, but either way, what's up? How you doing? Bill Gates says, Andrew, please. I help. I'm in first. Okay. You need help. Okay. I mean, you didn't type that, but okay. I'm just going to assume that you said that. Hurts, Devonta Smith, Chase, Jacobs, Stevenson, Waller, Elijah Moore. How do I improve? I mean, it's really hard to improve that team, in all honesty, because unless you're going to trade Jamar Chase, which is your most valuable piece, to try to get a running back in return, because really I don't think you can survive with Jacobs and Stevenson rest of the season. You're going to have to trade Chase and go get a running back and a wide receiver. You might have to just split them and get two. Maybe go ahead and take Jacobs and Chase, get a better running back, get a little bit of a downgraded wide receiver and another piece like maybe a Javonte that maybe can give you some help. But it's really hard to improve that team. I had seen your message earlier today. I think you said you lost Derrick Henry. Yeah, I mean, unless you're going to trade Derrick Henry on top of it to someone explaining the dream that maybe he can go ahead and get himself in a situation where he comes back week 16, 17, win a chip for someone. That's the only way that I would potentially sell it there. Let's see here. Galladay and Pat F for Ayuk and Ridley. If you don't, Derek Bravo, if you don't need Pat Freiermuth, I would say, I mean, do you not need, look, if I'm going to trade a tight end, especially with Freiermuth kind of potential, I want something that's going to be immediate impact. Obviously, Ayuk is not going to be that, and neither is Ridley. I'm okay with it because I do believe Ridley does return and actually has himself a decent late end season, but that's just me being hopeful because I love Ridley. That's it, purely. I think he's a fantastic player, but obviously he's dealing with stuff that's just outside of a regular injury. So for right now, I'm okay with it, but you got to be careful. A lot of risk there. How do you feel about Michael Carter rest of the season? Should continue to be just as good as he's been, to be totally honest. I mean, obviously the quarterback position isn't ideal for that team, but he's getting himself garbage time. He's getting himself goal line work, and that's all you can ask for, and he's been fantastic, and he's going to continue to be. Let's see here. Should I trade Waller for Kittle, full PPR? I don't mind it. I mean, obviously there's inherent risk because of Kittle's injury, but he's definitely looked like the better tight end in the last 2 weeks, to say the least. I think they're very equal in terms of their rest of the season overall value, so I don't mind it. Where would you rank Gronk rest of season? How does it affect other Bucks wide receivers? This is from Alec. To be totally honest, where do I rank Gronk? So amongst the tight end position itself, Gronk has a lot of touchdown upside, but of course he's an extremely volatile piece because if he doesn't end up scoring that said touchdown on a given week, he's certainly going to have to rely upon receiving yards, which again, he hasn't been, at that level for a couple years now. So in terms of rest of season at the tight end position, he's probably in that bottom end in terms of like that 12 to like 14 range. In terms of how it impacts wide receivers, I think it could really destroy the value of not even just the receiving options, but even the running options. When you get down to the goal line and you have the potential of throwing the ball to Gronk, it makes it that much more difficult for them to be like, all right, let's just hand it to Leonard Fournette and just punch it in. Instead, now there's the option, play action, feed it to Gronk, and let's just go, So I think it affects everyone, and it affects them negatively for sure. Now, sure, getting another receiving piece on the floor does have to force a defense to obviously respect his presence, but I think it will diminish everyone's kind of value as we persist. But it's not going to be like drastic to where, Evans is not going to score a touchdown for the next 7 weeks, in a row. I think it'll just be like a slow trickle where you'll see like they've kind of declined slightly. Let's see here. Frank says, thank you very much, Frank, for the donation. I appreciate that. Says, great content, man. I have my quarterback is Herbert, running back is Barkley, Damian Harris, AJ Dillon. My wide receivers are Hill, Kupp, and Cooks. Tight end is Kittle. Wow, fantastic team, Frank. I'm 7-3 in a 12-team half PPR league. I kind of want to upgrade quarterback or running back. Should I trade Barkley or Herbert? I think, okay, well, here's my thought process. Obviously, your wide receivers and your tight end shouldn't move. In terms of upgrading at running back, I was looking at Damian Harris and AJ Dillon, and that's who I wanted to move. I don't want to move Barkley. I actually want to keep Barkley rest of the season because the chances are if you are to most likely trade Barkley, you're going to get very little value in return based on what he's actually worth because he hasn't played in so long. So people are going to look at his numbers and not really look at his potential and what he's actually capable of and the opportunities that he's going to be given and how well Devontae Booker has played in the last couple of weeks. And they're probably going to sell you something far less than what you actually should be getting in return. So I look to try to move Damian Harris or A.J. Dillon, Dillon specifically, to the Aaron Jones owner. Now, as for Herbert, you can trade him. Is it a great idea? Unless you're getting an improvement at the position, unless you're going to go after, a better quarterback, I'm not moving it. So if you're going to go get a Dak Prescott, if you're going to go get a Tom Brady, if you're going to go get a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, etc., then by all means do it. But I would try to keep Barkley, and unless you're going to get a significant upgrade at quarterback, I'm not going to move him. Thank you. I mean, your team is as good as it could be to the point where you just have to kind of sit on your team and they may just get the job done by themselves. But I can understand why you would want to certainly improve them because they've certainly been underwhelming the last couple weeks. David Cruz says, I traded Pittman Jr. for D-Hop. Who won the trade? I don't know. We'll see in about 3 weeks here. And in all honesty, that is my answer. I have no clue because I don't know when DeAndre Hopkins is coming back. He's probably not going to play this week. He'll have a bye week next week, and then we'll see what he does in the fantasy playoffs. So if he ends up winning you the league, then you won the trade. If he doesn't and Pittman continues to tear it up, then we'll know the answer. You know what I mean? But overall, if it's me and I'm in a winning scenario and I have a good record and I'm probably going to make the playoffs with or without Pittman Jr. in my lineup, I would have done the exact same trade because I think D-Hop in the fantasy playoffs is going to be a monster. Thank you very much. Junkies Delight says Pittman versus Buffalo defense or Gaskin versus the Jets this week. I think it's way safer to just play Gaskin. So that's probably my suggestion at this point. If you're going to play one of the two, just play Gaskin. I mean, the Jets are terrible against running backs. Gaskin's been averaging 20 touches per game in the last 2 weeks. Why not just go ahead and roll him out there, get a lot of points from him, and just bask in the glory of having that performance on your lineup. Let's see here. Fainsky sends in a question. Says, Andrew, I'm 6-4, 12 teams, full PPR, made a solid trade. We have Kyler, Tyreek, Chase, Justin Jefferson, Najee Harris, Zeke, Hunt, Kittle, Myers, Landry, Jeff Wilson Jr., Gronk, Newton. Should I trade Hunt for Pollard or trade Tyreek Hill and a running back? Tyreek Hill for a running back. I would keep Hunt. I don't want Pollard. I believe that Zeke will be fine. I think Hunt actually gives your team an extremely great advantage at the flex position. Obviously, you have 3 stud wide receivers, and you don't technically need Hunt, but actually, I'd just rather have him on roster, just in case one of those receivers just goes into a streak of not having great games there. So, ultimately, I'm not really moving on your team. You really just have to start your starters and hope that they play well because you have top-tier talent at every single position. And that's basically it up and down the board. If you want to upgrade running back, the only upgrade you could theoretically make is getting Jonathan Taylor at running back. That's it. Or going and getting... But I don't even want to do that because it's going to cost you more than it should. So just keep your team. You have a great team, and honestly, it should be in line for a great playoff push here. Thank you very much, Fainsky. Stock Strategy sends in a question. Let's see what you have to say, Stock. Mike Evans, Saquon Barkley, or David Montgomery in the flex this week. Full PPR. The game decides my playoff fate. All right. I mean, look, if we're overall looking at these respective options, in a full PPR scoring format, I think the safest option here is Mike Evans, but I think I'm just going to play Saquon Barkley. So it's between those two. I'm probably not going to play David Montgomery. Maybe David Montgomery against Baltimore, it is going to be a tougher matchup per se. But I'm just thinking in a full PPR, who's going to get those extra yardage? Who's going to have the upside of a touchdown? I think Barkley and Evans pretty much dominate that category. If it's my team and I'm playing for my playoff life, it really depends. If Gronk doesn't play and AB doesn't play, I'd go with Evans. If they do play, I'm playing Barkley this week. Thank you very much, Stock. Zeffirino Medina says, 10-man league, Eckler, Swift at running back, Devontae and CD at wide receiver. Should I flex Darrell Williams or Brandon Cooks? 10-team league. Let's say, for example, it's a half PPR scoring format. I am most likely flexing Darrell Williams. under the assumption that CH isn't going to play this week. If CH does play, I'd have to recalibrate and probably say Brandon Cooks would be my option at that position this week. Thank you. Justin sends in a question, says, Andrew, would you be afraid if you manage Damian Harris? Yeah, I would be. Legitimately, I would be. I mean, I talked about it on Monday, right? There's a reason why Ramondre Stevenson was on the thumbnail. Because I said, going forward, this backfield is not going to be the same. Right? Because Ramondre Stevenson had such an incredible performance against Cleveland that he has earned himself the ability to get touches every single week at an actual 10 plus per game capacity. So, yeah, I would be concerned. Frank, no problem. Thank you very much for sending in that question. Ray Lars says, thoughts on Robbie Anderson with Cam as a wide receiver 3 rest of the season? I'm excited for the potential. I don't know exactly what we're going to see out of Cam. Obviously, we've only seen a little bit from him. He threw the ball to Robbie Anderson in the end zone. It could have been any other wide receiver, so it doesn't really mean much that he scored a touchdown last week. It's just a matter of whether or not he's going to kind of be in that offense and getting targets. And I think, sure, any Cam Newton offense is definitely a run-first scheme, but he looks healthy. If he's ready to, sling the rock, then I think Robbie Anderson, outside of McCaffrey being the number 1 target, then DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson's number 3 there. And if this is an offense that's a 5-5 football team and trying to make the playoffs, they're going to have to score a lot of points in order to compete with, especially teams in their own division like New Orleans and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I think they'll be scoring a fair share of points there. And Robbie Anderson should get his fair share of at least accurate targets. All right, let's see here. All right, David says, where should I improve? 10-man league. Lamar, Russ, Christian McCaffrey, J-Rob, CEH, A.J. Brown, Mike Williams, D-Hop, Renfro, Waller, Goddard. Who do I trade? I mean, this is a really, I would say, there's so many variables to take into account. Like, okay, if you're starting Lamar the rest of the season, you're starting Christian McCaffrey and J-Rob at running back. A.J. Brown and D-Hop are going to be your starting wide receivers when D-Hop's healthy. You leave Waller there, so it's a matter of figuring out who your flex position is. Right now, there's Mike Williams, there's Renfro. I would try to move Renfro and Mike Williams and get a better overall flex option. That's my suggestion right there. Arnold or Knox in a PPR. If you guys haven't checked out my video today, I technically do have Knox ahead of Arnold in a half PPR, but in a full PPR, I'd rather play Dan Arnold this week, Matt Johnson. That's what I would suggest. Jay Cruz said, had Nick Folk and Patriots defense, smiley face. I mean, congratulations. That's a great way to start your week, to say the very least. Justin sent in a question. Okay, we just did that one. True Gentleman for You sent in a question. Says, Kamara and Patterson down. I only have Matt Breida and J.D. McKissick. Which of the two do I start this week? Okay. Trade Mike Williams for Javonte, question mark. Flex Marcus Johnson, Tennessee versus Landry. All right, so first and foremost, if you're starting one of the two, Breida or McKissick, you're playing McKissick. I'm not starting Matt Breida. No capacity am I doing so. As for trading Mike Williams for Javonte, I mean, I expect Patterson to be back. I mean, look, Patterson was at practice. It's a short week. There's a reason why they held him out. He was even on the sideline walking around. Now, unless there's information that he was wearing a walking boot and I didn't see it, he should be in that, in the lineup, at least not even next week, but the week after that. If you need to, rack up some wins here and you need some depth, then yes, I'm willing to trade Michael Williams for Javonte. No cap. I will do that. I'm even willing to trade Alvin Kamara right now, like I mentioned, for, one of those top running backs if you can get away with it. So that's the way to improve it. As for Marcus Johnson or Jarvis Landry, I'd play Jarvis this week. Let's see here. Murray or Carr this week, Jermaine says. If Murray is starting, I would play Murray. If he's not, obviously, you don't play him. You're good to go. Andrew, Chiefs and Cowboys should be Sunday Night Football this week. Yeah, technically they should, but unfortunately, the Chiefs had a Sunday Night Football game last week, so they're not allowed to have that slot 2 weeks in a row. Morph sends in a question, says, should I do Jonathan Taylor, David Montgomery, and Renfro for Hill, Kamara, and Thielen? My team would be Josh Allen, Kamara, Patterson, Kupp, Hill, Gesicki, Thielen, and Tucker. 12-man would be projected 150 points per week. No. I mean, look, here's my concern. Technically, if we're in a vacuum and you're telling me, Andrew, Kamara is playing for the rest of the season, no worries, playing every single game, then I would 100% yes say, give me the trade. Give me Hill, Kamara, and Thielen rest of the season. But because there is no guarantee, and it doesn't sound like you have Mark Ingram, I don't know if I could pull that trade off, honestly. Because if you make that trade and Kamara has a bigger knee concern than they're actually kind of, showing us or telling us about, then you're screwed. And you've just pretty much handed away the keys to your championship run. And the guy in the souped up car with Jonathan Taylor is going to be riding to the championship game, right? So at this point, only if you have Ingram am I willing to make that deal. And only if we have actual confirmation that, we're not going to have to worry about Kamara next week or even this week at that point. Thank you. Justin says, for my flex, should I go with Gaskin or Emmanuel Sanders? 1,000% play Myles Gaskin this week. The Citizen says, it's a newspaper, the Daily Citizen. Okay, anyway. Got offered Waddle for Mike Williams, full PPR. I don't mind it. Honestly, I like Mike Williams, but I'm willing to make that trade at this point. Waddle's just been too good as of late. Let's see here. All right, guys, there's about 200 of you in here, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys could, click that like button down below. If we can get to over 100, that would be extremely appreciated. May seem like an insignificant thing to do to click that like button, but I can assure you it does help. Adam Habib says, Gaskin or T. Higgins? I would rather play Gaskin this week, Adam. Thank you. Frank says, how many leagues are you in? I'm in 13 leagues in terms of regular redraft. I'm in one dynasty league, and then that's basically it. And not to mention, I have a lot of friends and family, and I practically run their leagues as well. And there's a lot of people that either DM me or I run a lot of leagues. Like pretty much, it'd be safe to say that I probably have a hand in like 20 leagues. And is it a lot? Absolutely. Are there teams that are completely dead? Absolutely. I have some teams that just can't win to save their lives. But that's just the nature of fantasy football. That's why you want to play in so many leagues, so that even when you get those leagues where, this team has 3 season-ending ACL injuries, I can't do anything with this one. Sure, you're going to try to pivot and try to help yourself out, but eventually you're going to need to just, this team's done, and then go to the next one. Zach Craig says, hey, Andrew, I'm 7-3.5 PPR, most likely in the playoffs. Yeah, you're definitely in the playoffs. Do I trade Kupp for A.J. Brown and DeAndre Swift? I have Aaron Jones, but can't trust him because of the injury and his health. All right, so at this moment, rest of season, I don't mind that trade. I think, yes, Cooper Kupp is probably 20 points per week, but if you're able to get 15 out of Aaron Jones and 15 out of DeAndre Swift and have a solid running back, I'm 100% down to make that trade. Going forward in order to kind of give yourself an advantage. And Aaron Jones will be back. I think you can trust him, but it will be a couple weeks from now that you can, Thank you very much. Gabriel sends in a question. Let's go ahead and see what Gabriel has to say. Gabriel says, it's a 12-team PPR league. He's 8-2 currently. A playoffs. Yeah, you're definitely in the playoffs, my good sir. All right, so let's see here. Kyler, Christian McCaffrey, Michael Carter, DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, Mark Andrews, Brandon Cooks, James Conner. My bench is Ramondre, Darrell Williams, Derrick Henry, Mooney, Fuller, and A.J. Green. Concerned with Conner, Cooks, DK in the playoffs. Traded Dylan for Carter. Thoughts? Okay. Dylan for Carter, beautiful. We'll take that any day of the week. Kyler, Christian McCaffrey, Carter don't have to move. DK, Allen, you're fine. Andrews, you're not going to move. Cooks in the flex with Conner. I'm not even that worried about it, to be totally honest. I think you're in a fantastic position to succeed. Honestly, and from what I read today off of, let me see here. Let me go ahead and find exactly the link so that when I say it, you guys know where to look. I read it off of NBC Sports Edge, which is the former Roto World, Roto Baller. Let me go and find it. There was a specific thing or thread that I saw regarding Derrick Henry. I want to go see if I can find it because it kind of is encouraging at this moment for those of you who have Derrick Henry on roster and that are going to make a playoff push. The news regarding Derrick Henry, what I read earlier today. So this was posted today, November 18th. ESPN's Diana Russini reports there's an optimism regarding Derrick Henry's foot injury will return in early January. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's put this in perspective. Early January, okay, we're in week 11. So this will be 12, that's 13, that's 14, 15, 16, 7. Wait, what the heck? When is the fantasy football playoffs? Let me see here. NFL schedule. I'm actually curious. maybe I might end up shooting down the idea of even having Derrick Henry on roster. Let's see, week 16, when is those games? December 23rd. Oh, man. Okay, so technically, if Derrick Henry is to return, it would have to be in week 17, the championship game of our league. I don't know, dude. I don't even... Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there's an optimism return early January. He might show up for the championship game. That's about it. But you have to get there first, which is obviously unfortunate. Anyway, to answer your question, Gabriel, let me just go ahead and swoop back to it. The whole point is your team is honestly solid, and I really wouldn't move. You've won this many games with it. If you want to, tinker with it a little bit, you can. But I think your depth is solid, and your overall team is in a pretty good position here. Little Boy Blue 619 sends in a donation, but there isn't a question attached to it. Let me see if I can find your message in the chat, little boy. There it is. Okay, should I trade Michael Carter for Elijah Mitchell and Gronkowski at tight end? We have tight end is Dan Arnold. Okay. So from what I have been able to tell this season already, or this week already, Elijah Mitchell has a pin in his finger. He's not playing this week. May not play the week after either. I don't know what the dealio is. But if he has a hand injury and this guy is literally, given the job to protect the ball with his hand and arm, then, it probably is not a great idea to have him go out there so early. So I'm assuming that Elijah Mitchell may miss some time here. Do I want him in the late run of games? Certainly. I'd like to have him on roster, especially with Gronk. But if you can't afford to not play him and Gronk in the next couple weeks, and let's say they miss, and you need to win now, then I wouldn't do that trade. All right, Michael sends in a question, says 12-team, full PPR, traded away Waller and Keenan Allen for Devontae Adams and Hunter Henry. What do you think? I'm okay with that. I think that's a decent trade. I mean, obviously, you're going to have to rely upon Hunter Henry scoring touchdowns. Didn't do anything today. He had a red zone target. Obviously, Mac Jones overthrew him. My lineup is now Tannehill, Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Henry, and Ayuk. Yeah, I mean, you need to improve that. Wait, Henry? Hunter Henry, sorry. You need to improve your flex position, certainly, because Brandon Ayuk's not going to be able to, get it done every week, but I think you'll be fine rest of the season. To say the very least, because you have, some stud running backs and a, top-tier wide receiver there. Zachary Barlow says, is Odell flex viable rest of season or sell now? That's a really good question. My assumption is that, damn. Oh, man. Look, here's the thing. Odell Beckham does not play the Robert Woods role. He can't. He's going to try to, but he can't. He's not a run-blocking wide receiver, and he doesn't run that kind of a route tree. It's just not his style. So, can he find success in this offense? Absolutely. Are they going to have to force feed him the ball? Absolutely. Is he a sell high right now? Look, at very best, he's the number 24 wide receiver rest of the season, going forward, if he scores touchdowns. He's going to play second fiddle to Cooper Kupp. Maybe even third fiddle if, in fact, they're going to start running the ball, in the coming weeks here. So, if you can find someone that is certainly a Odell Beckham believer and someone that wants to buy him for more than he's really worth, then by all means, I would try to do that. All right, Jet Goforth says, trade ideas, ? My bench is Tyler Boyd, Judy, Tim Patrick, Mike Gesicki, Zach Moss. And then we have 12-team half PPR, Josh Allen, Chubb, Barkley, Diggs, Deontay, Kittle. Okay, so here's the deal. The most valuable prospect on your bench is Mike Gesicki. Tyler Boyd is worth peanuts. Zach Moss is garbage. Jerry Jeudy has potential. Tim Patrick has consistency of play over the season. So again, like I'll mention, Mike Gesicki has the most value on your bench. So with that said, how do you trade him and get value in return? You take him, you take either, Tim Patrick, Zach Moss, or Jeudy, and you go 2 for 1 for another wide receiver that could play in your flex and or as a, rotating wide receiver, 3 option, or that has wide receiver 2 upside going forward. That's my suggestion there. Thank you very much, Jet. Let's see here. Jack's Motivational Hub says, Josh Allen, James Conner. We have A.J. Dillon. What else is on this team? A.J. Brown, Amari Cooper, Dan Arnold, Tyler Lockett. My bench is Nick Chubb, Mike Williams, Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, Devonta Smith, Landry. Any suggestions in improving your lineup going forward, Chubb or Lockett on flex? I don't even know if Chubb's playing this week. So if he's playing, I would play him. If he's not, then obviously, you know the answer to that. As for Connor and Dillon play there, Yeah, so here's my suggestion. For sure, it should be Lockett for now. And until we get word, if it's Chubb and he's playing against Detroit, you certainly want to play him and you're good to go. How do you improve this team? To be honest, I think the way to improve this team is by taking Devonta Smith and trying to sell high on him right now. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to play well rest of the season, but I'm thinking of your team and I'm thinking to myself, well, you might want to be, you could very easily take a Devonta Smith and a Amari Cooper and go flip it for a top tier wide receiver. I think you honestly could. You don't have to, but you could. But outside of that, the next thing I want to go after is tight end. I don't really need or want to have Dan Arnold sitting there the rest of the season. If I can go get a Kittle, then by all means I would want to and try to go after that. And you can go 2 for 1, send Arnold, send Devonta Smith, see if you get any traction in any of those capacities. If you don't, then you hold your team and you keep rolling. But that's my thoughts right now. William sent in a donation, but there wasn't a message attached to it. Let me see if I can find your message in the chat if you sent one. How soon will OBJ? How soon until OBJ is a wide receiver too? Definitely eyeing the new Ram for the bench. Should I start him Sunday? They're on a bye week this week, so no, you shouldn't start him on Sunday. But how soon will be a wide receiver too? It could be as early as once they return from the bye week, or it could be as late as probably never happening, and there not being a clicking, chemistry between him and Stafford going forward. We'll just have to wait and see. It's a very risky scenario there. Luis sends in a question. It says, what's up, Andrew? How are you? I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I hope you guys are doing well as well. Got offered a trade for my Eckler and Cooks for Gibson, Patterson, Evans. What are your thoughts? So Eckler and your Brandon Cooks for Gibson, Patterson, and Evans. I would rather just keep what you have. I think Gibson, Patterson, and Evans certainly gives you depth, but it's a matter of, is your team good enough to make the playoffs? Can you survive if, in fact, Patterson is going to deal with an injury for the next couple weeks? And can you survive if Mike Evans isn't going to be himself once Gronk comes back, AB returns, and his value gets a little bit diminished? That's the whole question. If you can, then I think in the long run, the 3-player side is certainly better. But, yeah, that's totally up to what exactly your team's record is currently and how you can proceed forward and still survive going into the playoffs. Let's see here. Gabriel says, concerned with Connor and Cooks because the playoff matchups and Edmonds doesn't look like the Seahawks DK will have much play for the end of the season. Doesn't look like Seahawks DK will have much to play for at the end of the season. Much to play for. I think you're assuming that they don't. Okay, let me explain to you something, right? So in the National Football League, these men go out every single day and they're fighting to keep their job. So even the worst teams, the teams that are going 0-16, they're playing as hard as they possibly can because they're trying to keep their job for the next year. Because there are maybe, let's say, for example, 10% of players in the NFL right now that have a secure job that won't get cut next year. But I guarantee you 90% of these guys could be cut next year because their teams will move on and don't care. So the assumption that there's a potential that DK is not going to be playing for anything is completely just, in my opinion, completely false. These guys are going to try to ball out every single game because they want the accolades. They want to prove to every single person, and they're competitors. These guys aren't, they wouldn't get to the NFL if they were like, we got nothing to play for, let's just send it in and, mail it in. They wouldn't get that far unless they were competitors through and through. There's no shot. But yeah, look, if you have concerns, you have concerns. I'm not worried about your team. Rocky Saki sends in a, I don't even know what the heck that is. Is that a, I don't even know what that is. Is that a hippo? What is that? Okay, Rocky Saki says, my league goes to week 18. I hate it, but I'm not the manager. You should definitely ask him to help you guys fix that. Rocky Saki also says, Lamar Jackson, McCaffrey, Eckler, Thielen, Deontay, Waller, DJ Moore, flex in a standard. That's a pretty good looking team, my guy. DJ Moore, Devonta, or Coleman. I would play DJ Moore this week. Thank you. King Prawl says, pick one, Gaskin, Freeman, Gronk, or Allen Robinson. I would play Gaskin there. Thank you very much, King Prawl. Eric Sandoval says, thoughts on Carson? Should we give up on him? I have no thoughts on the matter because I don't even know if he's healthy. So my thoughts are keep Alex Collins on your team going forward. And that's it. Let's see here. Look at Ben Simmons. What does that even mean? Ben Simmons is a different scenario. Ben Simmons doesn't want to play for his team. You think DK Metcalf doesn't want to play for the Seahawks? If that's what you think, then you guys are completely off base. Completely. You guys are in a different dimension. Let's see here. SB Devo sends in a question. Says, hey, Andrew, should I trade McLaurin, Miles Sanders, and Claypool for Debo Samuel and Sutton? Yes. Immediately do it right now. I would take Debo and Sutton in a heartbeat. I have Cook, Barkley, Javonte, Murray, and Madison. My running backs would be at running back along with Keenan Allen, Bateman, and Tony. Yeah, I'd make that deal. Get Debo. Silver Soul Jones says, God bless my guy. Keep up the good work. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Silver Soul. Debo sends in a question, says, what is Kareem Hunt's trade value? I mean, rest of season, once he comes back, he's a top 24 running back, probably in the top 16, to be honest, based on how that offense functions. So unless you're going to trade him for a guy that is currently in that top 16 manner, top 20 manner, so like Michael Carter, Cordero Patterson, Leonard Fournette, that kind of capacity of value, I'm not really moving him because I think he's of that value. Let's see here. Tua, Cam, or Jimmy G, says Vince Jordan. I would play Cam this week, then Tua, then Jimmy G in that order. Brandon Cooks or Michael Pittman. I mean, you know my answer. You've seen the video. I don't think I'm going to change my answer this week based on that. Do you play fantasy basketball as well? No. I play, a couple games on, Pick'ems via Underdog Fantasy. Again, if you guys haven't checked them out, it's another way to play fantasy football. Use promo code Andrew today, and Underdog Fantasy is willing to match up to $100 of your first deposit. I play a lot on Underdog Fantasy. In terms of the pick'ems, yes, but outside of actual fantasy basketball, I haven't done that since I was in college. So it is just too much to deal with having to change your lineup like 6 different times a week because of how many injuries and how many players and all this kind of jazz. When it's during the basketball, the NFL season, the NFL is significantly my priority because I have so many leagues already to deal with this. So yeah, I haven't played an actual fantasy basketball league in maybe like 6 years. All right, let's see here. Is Marquise Brown playing? Good question. Let me go ahead and give him a call real quick. Actually, I'm going to text him. One moment, please. He might be asleep, the hour difference. I'm going to text Marquise Brown. I'm going to ask him if he's playing. Okay. Well, if he texts me back, I'll let you know. All right, let's see here. Is Gallup worth stashing? Yeah, I think so, Jorge. I think he's worth stashing. Advice on getting a legendary beard? Genetics. Purely. It is legitimately all genetics. If you are predisposed to grow facial hair at a capacity of such, then you just have to give it time. And that's it. I don't use any products. I don't use any oils or any of that garbage. I definitely wash my beard, but that's about it. Yeah, it's purely just genetics. That's all it is. Trade Freiermuth and Moss for Hawkinson. Yeah, that's a W, Jonathan Kampf. That's a W. Traded Melvin Gordon, gave up Adrian Peterson. Traded for Melvin Gordon, gave up Adrian Peterson and Kenyon Drake. Thoughts? W beyond belief, Xavier. W beyond belief. Wow. You stole that. In-N-Out or Whataburger? I've never eaten Whataburger. And I live in California, so In-N-Out's pretty much all I'm exposed to. Is Whataburger probably better? Yeah, probably. I just don't know. Never had it. Let's see here. Eric Wright sends in a question, says, I'm 9-1. Dude, Eric, that is a crazy record. 9-1? Holy moly. It's 12-team, non-PPR. My quarterbacks, Murray, Hunt, and Mitchell at running back. We have Gordon and Sanders as well. My wide receivers are Diggs, Hopkins, Kupp, Waddle. Start 3 at that position. And then, of course, we have Pitts, Cook. How to upgrade is your question at running back. Okay, so we have Hunt, Mitchell, Gordon, and Sanders. How do we upgrade? I mean, to be honest, I don't want to trade any of those 3. I don't want to trade Hunt, I don't want to trade Mitchell, and I don't want to trade Gordon. So you have to trade Sanders, and you have to trade him with a wide receiver in order to get an upgrade there, right? So you might have to just grab Hopkins and Sanders and go try to upgrade a running back. That's the only potential, because if you were to give away Hunt right now, you could technically maybe take Hunt, take D-Hop, and really go get a running back. Top tier running back talent. but I don't know if that actually helps in the long run, because you want to have Hopkins on roster when you're starting 3 wide receivers, when you're going to start Diggs, Kupp, and Hopkins every week in those playoff stretch. So the best way of going about this is most likely just moving Sanders, grabbing Waddle, seeing if somebody wants him. You're playing a non-PPR, so people probably don't want wide receiver as drastically. So at this point, the only way to go about this is maybe trying to move Mitchell and see if you'll get a better running back, but I don't think you're going to be able to. I don't know how your team or your league works. I think you know your league better than I do. I don't know how, I guess, willing people are to move the running back position, especially in a standard league, but at this point, the only way you're going to go about doing that is either moving a running back plus a wide receiver, because I don't think somebody wants Pitts after last night. Jared Cook's nothing. Yeah, the only way is moving like a 2-for-1 deal there. Let's see here. Jackson Motivational sent in another question. Says, offer Mike Williams, Devonta Smith, Amari Cooper for Keenan Allen and DeAndre Swift. I got to go back up and see your team. So if you put DeAndre Swift and Keenan Allen in this team, boom, boom. DeAndre Swift goes to flex, and then you move Nick Chubb there. And then what did you say? Yeah, I do it. I'd make that trade, Jax. Motivational. I would. Sup, Andrew? How's it going? Cheese curds. How's it? Hope you're doing well after this Thursday night terrible game. Tyler Nash says full PPR, Emmanuel Sanders or McKissick. That's a good question. I'd probably just roll with Sanders there. I mean, McKissick could have that week. It's very possible that he does. It's just not a guarantee. Abdullah says, hey, Andrew, if I trade Saquon and Marquise Brown for Jonathan Taylor, do you think it's a good idea in a full PPR? I don't mind it. It's just a matter of how much depth you have at wide receiver. Are you willing to, can you actually afford to lose Marquise Brown? Has he been a starter every week? And if you are in fact going to plug in another wide receiver, how much of a downgrade is it going to be? Because if it's going to be a significant enough downgrade, it may not be the greatest idea. But honestly, I don't mind the trade. I think Jonathan Taylor rest season is pretty much bulletproof. So you can probably get away with that and set yourself up for a pretty nice playoff run there, without also having to worry about Marquise Brown's injury and, Saquon Barkley and whatever he has to deal with. Tua versus the Jets or Cam versus Washington football team? Greetings and salutations, good sir. Devin, I would play Cam this week. Thank you very much. That's what I had in my quarterback rankings video that I posted earlier today. I got my top 16 quarterbacks there and my top 16 tight ends. Check that out if you haven't already to hear my extra thoughts on that matter. But yes, I would play Cam. Would you give Keenan and Swift for those? Who would you give? Sorry. Would you give? What the heck? Sorry, I'm actually dyslexic. Who would give you those Keenan Allen and Swift for those peanuts? Yeah, McKay, you're right. Sorry, I don't know what the heck happened to me. My brain just stopped functioning there for a second. I'm overheated, I guess. Thank you, Evan. I appreciate the kind words, man. Hey, Andrew, Montgomery or Michael Carter, full PPR? I'd play Michael Carter this week. Thank you. Love your stuff, man. Have a real question. Play Jamal Agnew or Jamison Crowder this week in the flex? That's actually a really good question. Currently, I have Jamison Crowder higher in my rankings. But I don't mind the Agnew play. I think I'm just going to probably roll with PPR Crowder, though. Montgomery or Justin Jefferson? I'm playing Justin Jefferson there, Carlos. Hey, Andrew. Where do you go with A.J. Brown if he doesn't play well this week? No excuses for his performance last week. Look, okay, here's the thing, guys. You got to look at it from an objective opinion, right? How many targets did he have last week? 4? So what do you mean no excuses? Is it his choice as to whether he gets targeted every play? No. It's Ryan Tannehill's. That's the quarterback there. So I don't like the idea where it's no excuses for his bad performance. Dude, the guy's been dealing with a knee injury for the last 3 years. He's probably not healthy. He probably wants the ball every down he runs a route. And of course, he's the best player on that offense right now. So, yeah, we anticipate better, but we're not going to lose our minds because he doesn't play well. If he goes out and puts up 0 points again, guess what? He's going to be in my starting lineup the next week again. I don't really care. He's that good, and I'm willing to go down with the ship if it really means that. So don't worry about him, okay? You'll be fine. Eric Crump. Actually, there was a couple questions came in here. Carlino says, wide receiver 2, Kirk or Bateman? Muth or Gronk. So right now I'm going to play Muth, and I'm going to play Christian Kirk because we don't know if Hollywood Brown's playing or not. But my assumption is that D-Hop isn't playing. Therefore, I'd rather play Christian Kirk over Bateman. So Christian Kirk, Muth. That's my suggestion there, Carlino. Derek Just says flex full PPR, Rondo Moore or Michael Gallup. I'd rather play Michael Gallup this week. And then Eric Crump says DJ Moore and Odell Beckham for Joe Mixon. I would take Joe Mixon in that trade. That's a fantastic trade if you can make that. Is Mike Davis droppable? Absolutely, Denver Broncos. 1,000%. I'd drop him today if I could. Hey, Andrew, my team is Dak, JT, J-Rob, Devontae, OBJ, Kelsey, AJ Dillon. Any improvement ideas? So in terms of running back, JT and J-Rob, you don't have to move. Devontae's good. OBJ's AJ Dillon will disappear in a couple weeks. So you pretty much have to solidify a flex first and foremost, because AJ Dillon may not be able to hold that position the whole season. But if in fact Aaron Jones comes back and Aaron Jones is playing second fiddle and AJ Dillon runs the entire rest of the season as the starter, then you're in a good position. Otherwise, flex and wide receiver 2, that's the only improvements that you can possibly make. The rest of the positions there are solid. Thank you, Abdullah. Let's see here. Let's keep scrolling now. The Real Blue says, hey, thank you, man, so much. All the great advice. I'm currently 6-4, and I'm trying to figure out whether to play Jamal Agnew or Marquez Callaway at the flex, and also your thoughts on Jeff Wilson or McKissick. I'm expecting Jeff Wilson to play because Mitchell is probably not going to play. So I would take Jeff Wilson over McKissick. As for Marquez Callaway and Agnew, I still play Marquez Callaway over Agnew. Jacob says Saquon or Fournette rest of season. I'd rather have Saquon, honestly. Where do I improve in a 12-team league? Dak, Cook, Montgomery, Hunt, DK, Hollywood, DJ, Kittle, Schultz, Goddard. Who do I trade? You take Schultz and you take Goddard and you go probably grab like DJ Moore and try to upgrade something. I don't know what you can upgrade. You can't upgrade running back. You certainly can't, because Cook and David Montgomery, I mean, those are two, top 15 backs there, unless you're going to somehow move one of them for an upgrade. That's the only way you can go about it, is grabbing your, look, at this point, if you guys are in a position where you're going to make the playoffs, then you want to go ahead and grab a lot of that depth on your bench and kind of condense it down and just make 2-for-1 trades. Because in many of our scenarios, let's say, for example, I'm sitting on a team that's like 5-4 right now. Okay, sorry, 5-5. Let's make it flat even. If we're playing on a 5-5 team right now and I don't have a guaranteed playoff spot, then I want to have depth, especially if I have teams that are going to be on bye for the next couple weeks. Whether it's this week, the Rams and the Broncos, the week after, we're going to have the Cardinals going on a bye. And then, of course, the Tennessee Titans, Carolina Panthers. There's a lot of teams, Eagles, that are going to have byes in the coming weeks. So certainly, if you don't need the depth of that bench because you've already surpassed all of your bye weeks, then you want to condense it down, make 2-for-1s, improve your starting lineup. So when you get into the fantasy playoffs, you just have the best overall roster you can, because what's the bench going to do in the playoff game? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's win or go home. So that's my suggestion there. Sadiq says, Andrew, wanted to remind you, you're the GOAT in fantasy football. Thank you very much. I don't believe I am, but I appreciate that sentiment and that compliment. Thank you very much. Marcelo says, 8-2, half PPR. Hurts, Cook, Montgomery, Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson, Pitts, Carter. Okay, we got some talent there, to say the very least. Would you trade David Montgomery and Carter for Deontay Johnson for Taylor and Moore? Ooh, okay. So let's say, for example, if our team in the playoffs with an 8-2, because you're going to make the playoffs, is Hurts, Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Amari Cooper, DJ Moore. No, I wouldn't make that trade. No. So here's my thought process right now, Marcelo. I don't know what the rest of your team looks like, but if you're trading away 2 starting running backs and your flex is just going to be butt naked with a trash can, I don't want it. I'd rather have a 15-point flex than a guy that's just not going to show up every single week. So I guess it's a matter of, I need more information regarding that question to kind of get a better understanding as to what the heck you have available and why you would want to make that trade. All right, Alex Nava sends in a question, or sends in a donation, but there wasn't a question attached. There we go. Lost Robert Woods, need a wide receiver too. Should I trade CEH for Devonta Smith? I would. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I think Devonta Smith, like I talked about yesterday, the Eagles have the easiest strength of schedule at the wide receiver position and at the quarterback position. That duo should be ready to go rest of season and cleaning it up. Let's see here. Nick sends in a question. Says 10-team standard. Who do I start? Pick 3. Dalvin Cook, Swift, Gibson, Montgomery, D'Ernest, and J-Rob. Okay. So if we're picking 3 out of this running back, I mean, you have a army. It's not even just a roster. You have an army of running backs. Dalvin Cook automatically plays. As for your other options, I think DeAndre Swift also earns himself a starting spot there. Now, the next position is based on whether or not we see Nick Chubb play this week. If Nick Chubb is not playing against Detroit, D'Ernest Johnson's your third option. If he is playing, Nick Chubb is, and D'Ernest Johnson loses his value, and then you'd play J-Rob at your flex position there. Thank you very much, Nick. All right, let's see here. Kevin Kim says, love the rest of the season videos, but would you rather have Aaron Jones or Monty for the playoff run? It depends. Do you have A.J. Dillon on your team? Because at this point, let me go look here. I got to go open my rest of season calculations on the spreadsheet. Rest of season schedule. Okay, so let's see here. Weeks 15, 16, 17, right? So Green Bay gets to play against Baltimore, Cleveland, and Minnesota. So Baltimore, Cleveland aren't the greatest matchups. Minnesota is. That's fine. I'm okay with that. And then when we look at Chicago's matchups, we have Minnesota, Seattle, and the New York Giants. So Minnesota's great. Seattle's fantastic, and the New York Giants are fantastic. So honestly, objectively, if you ask me, Andrew, who's going to score more points between those 2 running backs between weeks 15 through 17, I would obviously tell you that it's David Montgomery. Because I think he's just as talented, gets probably more opportunities, because after Aaron Jones comes back, it may be a little bit more of a split than we anticipate. And then David Montgomery just rules the backfield and cleans it up there. So that's my suggestion there. What's Calvin Ridley's trade value? You know, Abdullah, I have no clue. I guess his trade value is whatever someone's willing to give for him. And I don't know, what exactly is going to come of that. But yeah, we'll see. Hector says, hey, Andrew, use your code for Fantasy Underdog, Underdog Fantasy. Thanks for the match. Thoughts on T. Higgins and Van Jefferson? Well, I'm glad you did that. Again, for those of you who haven't checked out Underdog Fantasy, again, if you use promo code Andrew today, Underdog Fantasy is willing to generously match up to $100 of your first deposit. I'm going to go ahead and draft a team here in about 15 minutes for the Sunday slate of games. Just kind of show you guys exactly how I've been making my money as of late in that regard. But either way, as for your question, T. Higgins versus Van Jefferson, or just thoughts on, if I'm giving you thoughts on both of them, I think Van Jefferson is probably still in that low-end wide receiver 3, high-end wide receiver 4 conversation rest of season. He really needs a touchdown or a big play for him to make, something of it. Hopefully, when this Rams team comes off the bye, they're a completely different team than in the last 2 weeks that we've seen them. If they are, then Van Jefferson will certainly have wide receiver 3 value. Now, as for T. Higgins, look, T. Higgins, I talked about it earlier this week. I honestly think he's the number 4 touchdown option on that team. It goes Mixon, Chase, Uzama, and then him. So if he's not scoring touchdowns, he certainly has PPR value because he can come off of a game in which he has like 6 catches for 70 yards. But is that enough in a half PPR, getting about 10 points? It's okay, but he's pretty much borderline wide receiver 3 value going the rest of the way. Unless this offense starts to just light up defenses and he begins to score a consistent volume of touchdowns. Nick sends in another question, says, outlook for Swift if Goff is sitting. I don't think Goff makes a difference. I think they actually improve as an offense. No joke. So without Goff, you're good to go. No problem at all. Marcelo says bench Bateman, Carson, Agnew, and RB handcuffs. Okay, let me see. Yeah, I don't know if I want to do that, Marcelo, because, I'm looking at your team and, are you going to start Bateman at your flex every week? Because Carson doesn't look like he's coming back. Your handcuffs aren't going to play. Agnew's not a flex option. I think it actually hurts you more than it actually potentially helps you in the playoffs. And that's my honest opinion right now. Derp says, what's good RB/wide receiver combo I could get for Jonathan Taylor? Listen, if I'm going to trade away Jonathan Taylor, who's right now since week 4 averaging 25 points per week in fantasy, I want at least 40 points in return per week. So what does that mean? I want legitimately, okay, maybe I'm over, okay. I want 35 points in return. So I want a 15-point, God, actually you probably can't get that either. Damn. It is really, okay. If I'm trading Jonathan Taylor, I want a significant upgrade at wide receiver, and I want someone at running back that is still in that top 10 conversation. So let's say, for example, someone gives me James Robinson and Justin Jefferson, I'll take it. But it's got to be that kind of level. We got to be top 10 running back talent and top 10 wide receiver talent. But honestly, am I taking that deal? Unless I'm super desperate, I'm probably not, because I think Jonathan Taylor kills it in the fantasy playoffs. Who does Indianapolis play here? They get a bye week in week 14. Oof, that hurts. New England, Arizona, and Las Vegas. I mean, I think they can honestly run through Las Vegas. I think they can run through Arizona. And New England's probably their toughest game, but I think they'll still be fine in that matchup overall. All right, let me see here. Coming back. Double AC says, Tua Bridgewater, Najee Swift, Jefferson, Cooper, Renfro, Gronk, Elijah Moore. My flex has Jimmy G, Javonte, Bateman, Ertz. With my cuffs in, oh God, man, I got bit in the elbow by like a bug or something when I was outside. With cuffs in Jamal Williams and Jeff Wilson, package to improve. All right, so let's see how we improve this double AC. Najee Harris and Swift don't have to move. Justin Jefferson doesn't move. Cooper doesn't move. Renfro could probably be packaged with Elijah Moore and try to go get another wide receiver there. Javonte Williams stays. Yeah, that's my suggestion. I want to move Renfro and I want to move Elijah Mitchell and I want to upgrade a wide receiver. That's what I want to do. As for who you're going after, try to go get Michael Pittman after this week, because Michael Pittman might have a little bit of a down week because of the Buffalo matchup. You might be able to cash in on that. Evening, Andrew and crew. Thank you very much. What's up, David? How you doing? Would you play Gronk at home or Schultz? I play Schultz this week. Do I start Mike Williams or DJ Moore? DJ Moore. Giovanni. Paul says, I'm 7-3, hopefully going to make the playoffs. You should. Should I drop Derrick Henry to clear a roster spot? No. If you're 7-3 and you think you're going to get to the championship, I think you hold him. And if he comes back week 17, he wins you the league. Rhino21 says, Murray, Tannehill, Taylor Swift, Monty, Jefferson, Evans, Judy, Higgins, Javonte, Nutt. Guys, these rosters are stacked. Okay. 6-4, 1 game up from first. Okay. Want to pick up Pollard. All right, let's see here. I mean, in terms of your running back depth, with Taylor Swift and Montgomery, you're set there. Jefferson and Evans don't have to move. You're playing one of those running backs at your flex and 2 of them at your RB1 and 2. Knox/Freiermuth are fine at tight end. Javonte Williams has the upside for the late season push here. You want to pick up Pollard for what? I mean, if you're going to go pick up Pollard, I would honestly just... you don't even need him, but you can just go drop CH or Elijah Moore technically, but I don't think you have to. I think you just hold what you have. You got a pretty solid team there, Rhino, honestly. Is it time to move away from Pitts? Says David. I mean, I think it's a time to move away from anybody that's associated with Matt Ryan. I mean, at this point, it kind of looks like that. Lucas Askew says, trade away Pittman, Javonte, Corey Davis, Gaskin for Higgins, A.J. Dillon, and Aaron Jones. Need RB help. Wide receivers are Lamb, Cooks, Moore. Running backs are Carter and Gibson. Okay. Yeah, I'll take that deal. That's fine by me. That's a good trade there, Lucas, for you. Gonna stack Foreman and AP against Houston. Dumb move, question mark. What else do you got? Because if you don't got anything better, then by all means, it's probably the best overall option you can get. And just hope that they run the ball down Houston's throat. But you never know. Could be tough there. Let's see here. Okay. So, what do we got? All right. So, really quickly, I'm going to be here for the next about 40 minutes or so until 10 p.m. my time, PST. Just giving you guys a heads up. Jimmy Navarro says A.J. Dillon or Eckler this week. I'd play Eckler. Who else has Patriots defense? Yeah, I think a lot of us in here might or will be playing against them this week, unfortunately. Is Jarvis Landry droppable? I mean, it depends. I mean, I don't know what else is available in your league to pick up, but I don't think Jarvis Landry is technically droppable in a vacuum. Eckler's a must start. Yeah, I agree, McKay. Should I trade James Robinson, Deontay Johnson, and Gesicki for Saquon and DJ Moore? No. I think you're fine with Deontay and James Robinson rest of the season. I think they have similar value. And throwing away Gesicki is just not great. I think you can just kind of live with what you have there. Do you think CEH plays? And if he does, would you play? Sorry, I have to scroll back up. Would you play? Where did it go? Darrell Williams, Gaskin, or Devonta Smith at the flex? Let's say he plays. Even if he plays, even if he doesn't, I think I'm still playing Gaskin at the flex this week for you. Especially if it's I don't care if it's full or half. I think it's just the Jets matchup that gives me, hope. All right, Michael says, hey, Andy. Another must-see Thursday night football game, right? Exactly. 12-team PPR. I need a tight end. My wide receiver 3 in flex. Okay, so we have Knox and Arnold, Bateman, Tony, Ayuk, Elijah Moore, Foreman. Okay, cool. So as for tight end this week, in a full PPR, I'm playing Arnold over Knox. As for your wide receiver 3 between Bateman, Tony, and Ayuk, it's a matter of whether or not, and Elijah Moore, it's a matter of whether or not Hollywood Brown plays. If Hollywood Brown is out, I'm playing Bateman. I think even if Hollywood Brown plays, I still playing Bateman. But Tony is probably the next best option there. As for your flex this week, do I want to play Foreman in a full PPR? No. So I would play Arnold, Bateman, and Tony this week. That's my suggestion for you, Michael. Evan Me says, love the vid, 7-3, 10-team half PPR. Herbert Hurts as quarterback. We have Lamb and Deontay, wide receiver, followed by AB and Judy. We have Cook, Eckler, Saquon, Montgomery at running back. Holy crap, you are stacked at running back. Hawkinson and Gesicki at tight end. Who should I trade? Who should you trade? Nobody. Is that can I give you that answer, Evan? Like, in all honesty, right? Where do you need to improve the most? It's wide receiver 2, right? Because you can certainly get an upgrade from Deontay Johnson, AB Judy as your wide receiver 2. So how do you go about doing that? Well, you probably grab like Saquon or Montgomery, and you take a Deontay and you go 2 for 1 and you make a huge upgrade at that position. But the issue is, do you want to have the 4 running backs for your playoff run? So you have the choice of, hey, you know what? Actually, this guy doesn't play a great matchup, is actually a little banged up from an injury. I have the ability to pivot, or do you want to kind of pinch yourself in a position to where you have to play what you have? That's just the question at this moment. At this point, you don't really have to move your team. You've got solid players and actually really good players at every position. They just have to show up in unison in order to help you win some, fantasy games here and there in the playoffs. Let's see here. Guillermo says, full PPR, 3 wide receiver league. Who do I play? We have Evans, Devonta Smith. We have Corey Davis, Galladay, MVS, and Green. Not the best options. No, honestly, I think you're fine. You're playing Evans, Devonta Smith, and Corey Davis. You're not playing Galladay. You're not playing MVS. You're not playing Green. You're good to go. Thank you. Jose Torres says, trade Darren Waller for which wide receiver? I have Gesicki and Goddard as my tight ends. All right, so if you're going to trade Waller, I guess it's a matter of what someone is willing to spend for Waller rather than what I'm willing to tell you, because, again, what I tell you is irrelevant based on even if you go to the guy that has, I don't know, if you go to the person who has Mike Evans or Chris Godwin and they're like, yeah, I don't care, then you're not going to get anything done there, right? So, in all honesty, if you're going to trade Darren Waller, if you're going to make the playoffs, I'd go try to get DeAndre Hopkins. That's my suggestion. Because I think DeAndre Hopkins in the fantasy playoffs against, Detroit, Indianapolis, and Dallas, if he doesn't score 15 points a week, I'll be surprised. So that's my suggestion. If you can, go get D-Hop. David Fast says, standard league. Running backs I have are Cook, Fournette, Carson, D'Ernest. Drop Carson or D'Ernest for Jeff Wilson. Seems Carson may not return no IR spot. Okay, so here's my suggestion, David. There's always a potential that Nick Chubb doesn't play this week. And if that's the case, I want D'Ernest Johnson to play in my lineup so he can win me the week. So, with that said, I would most likely just hold it for now. If you want, you can swap Carson for Jeff Wilson. Again, there's just as much inherent risk of Carson coming back getting re-injured than there is him not even coming back. So I don't mind you swapping that. So if you want to pick up Jeff Wilson, you can. But either way, I think this week you're going Cook and Fournette at RB1 and 2. If Chubb doesn't play, you play D'Ernest. If Mitchell doesn't play and Chubb does, you play Jeff Wilson over that in the flex, and you're good to go. So yeah, I don't mind swapping that out, because truth be told, I don't know what's going to come of it. There's no timeline. There's no information regarding it. You can sit on your hands and wait because you've got a good team, but it is tough without an IR spot there to try to make a move. Christopher Min says Lamar, JT, Najee, Pollard, Jeff Wilson, Stevenson, Debo, AJ Brown, Terry, Sutton, Bateman, Schultz, Ertz. My God, you have like 9 tight ends. Any moves you think I should make? Could I make any upgrades on my team? Okay, so JT and Najee Harris can't be upgraded, so you're fine there. Debo can't be upgraded. AJ Brown is stud. Terry, Sutton, Bateman. Okay, those guys are decent, but not the greatest. Schultz at tight ends, okay. So, I mean, look, at this moment, when I look at your team, your biggest upgrade is going to be flex and tight end. How do you upgrade at tight end? It's really difficult to do so unless you're going to go and take Terry McLaurin and one of those tight ends and try to go grab an upgrade. And I think that's probably the only way to go in about it. Now, does somebody value Terry McLaurin in your league? Maybe if they know the name, sure. But if they look at the numbers, they're going to be like, what are you trying to pull, my guy? Like, come on. So at this point, that's really the only move that you can make. Because I don't mind having Terry as my flex, along with either Bateman or Sutton on a weekly basis. But I think tight end doesn't need to be improved. I think it's the flex position that you need to improve. And you got to use these extra options of Pollard, Sutton, Terry, Bateman, Schultz, Ertz. You got to use 2 or 3 of those guys to try to get a flex that'll give you some depth this rest of the season way. Okay. Another question came in from Christian. Said, I'm a 5-5 team, 10 teams, full PPR league. Let's read this question. It says Stafford, Najee, Christian McCaffrey, Patterson, Javonte Williams, Montgomery, Henry, Jefferson, Debo, Hollywood, Pittman, Hopkins, Odell, Pat Freiermuth, Knox. Who do I drop to stream, Carr or Cam? Who do I start this week? Okay, so here we go. Listen up, Christian. Here it is. So who are you dropping? At this moment, I'm most likely dropping. Let me look at this one more time. Okay. I'm dropping one of those tight ends. So I'm most likely dropping. Do I want to drop Fryer or Knox? I drop Knox. And then I would pick up Cam for this week. I'd play him and then try to go get Knox the week after. Who are you starting this week? Najee, Christian McCaffrey as your 2 starting running backs. Jefferson and Debo as your 2 starting receivers. As for your flex, you're playing Montgomery and you're good to go. Thank you. Double AC says, it's Elijah Mitchell or more. What package now? It's Elijah Mitchell, not more? Oh, you have Elijah. Wait, what? Where is Double AC's question? Let me go back up. Okay, you have Elijah Mitchell. At this point, now you don't have to make any moves. Because really, you just... okay, so you still have to probably improve wide receiver 2. But you don't even have to improve your flex anymore because you're good to go there. I mean, you could technically grab Mitchell and... No. Honestly, at this point, I don't think you have to move. Now that you have like a stud flex there, you can swap him with Javonte if you need to in the coming weeks. Bateman could play for there. Yeah, you don't have to move. You actually don't. All right, let's see here. Gold Leaf in the chat says Miles Sanders or Zach Moss this week. I don't even know if Miles Sanders is playing, guys, in all honesty. I have no clue. If he does play, then I guess we could try it, but I'm not very confident in that regard. I traded Damian Harris and Bateman for Melvin Gordon and Devonta Smith because of their schedules. Do you think I lost the trade? No, I don't think you lost the trade. I think you're perfectly fine the rest of the way. I think you actually won that trade, in my opinion. Should I trade Carter, Connor, AJ Brown for Diggs and Gaskin? Carter, Connor, and AJ Brown for Diggs and Gaskin? No. Keep what you have. Justin, no. I got other good RBs. I mean, yeah, you might have other good RBs, but if you're trying to improve wide receiver and you're going to send those 3 studs, I better be getting Diggs and CeeDee Lamb back. Like, I better be getting 2 wide receivers in return. You know what I mean? Like, huge upgrades. Because if you don't need running back, then why do you need Gaskin, you know? Let's see here. Hey, Andrew. Who is a reasonable target trade for James Conner in a full PPR? Thank you very much. All right, Aaron, let's see here. Well, who's a reasonable target if you're sending away Connor? I mean, what position are we talking about, Aaron? Let me know in the comments or in the live chat. Ryan Evans says Claypool or Zach Moss PPR. I don't even know, man. I'll plead the fifth on that because, in all honesty, I don't like either of them this week. Honestly, I just don't. They're both bad. It's just so not. It's terrible, man. They're so bad. I mean, they themselves are not bad players. They're just not given opportunity enough to where it's, gives you the confidence to play them, Francisco sends in a donation, but there was no message attached. Francisco, if you've got a question, please type it in the chat, my good sir. Let's see here. Just did Damian Harris for Pittman W. I think you're in a good spot there, yeah. Thoughts on Aaron Jones rest of the season, Miles? Miles, to be honest, I mean, okay, here's my thought process, right? When I think about it objectively, I think if A.J. Dillon balls out for the next couple weeks, Aaron Jones may return to a running back by committee scenario in which it's purely 50-50 touches. And if that's going to be the case, well, we got some problems for good old Aaron Jones. Dolphins or Titans defense this week? I prefer... Actually, who do I prefer? Where's my rankings? Give me a moment here. Week 11 rankings, 11, 18, 20, 21. Okay, let's scroll over the spreadsheet. We have Miami ahead of... No, we have Tennessee as our number one defense. Scratch it. Number one is Tennessee this week, and number 3 is Miami. So I played Tennessee this week. Okay, let's see here. Would you drop Claypool? Honestly, if you need the roster depth, yeah, I would. Because Big Ben's not good enough to keep value for him. Do you think Mike Davis is a bum? Yeah, I think he's droppable, if that's what you're asking. I don't know if that's exactly what you meant or what you were asking, but at this point, yes, I would say he is droppable in fantasy formats. Need to start 2 between Bateman, Tony, Gesicki, and Mooney. I would say, Tyler, let's wait until Sunday before I give you an answer. If you come by Sunday morning, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'll be live streaming there. You can show up later in the stream. You don't got to show up in the early hours if you are on the West Coast as such, as myself. So you can go ahead and just roll in there. By then, I think we'll have a little bit of a better understanding as to the injuries of whether Sterling Shepard's playing and Hollywood Brown are playing, because that's the hugest difference, the biggest difference maker, and even Allen Robinson. If those guys are not going, then those wide receivers, rankings, they fluctuate significantly. Thank you. Okie dokie. What do we got here? Tony or Gallup in the flex? Honestly, I'd rather just play Tony there, Nick. Is it safe to drop Carson yet? I think so, Whipped. I think so. I'm not 100% certain. I can't say that with confidence, but I think we're getting to the point where we might be. Travis says underdog picks. I don't know. We can go check that out right now. We'll do that in about 2 seconds here. Let me set that up for us real quick. Let me go ahead. Let's move that there. Let's move this here. Move this down here. And let's go to underdog. Jonathan sends in a question, says, I have McLaurin and CEH. Any fair trades possible? I mean, look, here's the thing. And I'll continue to preach this idea because it really is true amongst all leagues. The players in your league are only worth what someone is willing to give for them. If people in your league, your respective league mates, are not valuing these players highly, then you just can't do anything with them. I personally don't value CEH very highly the rest of the way. I don't. Because I think Darrell Williams has earned his job to be a stable running back in that backfield, getting consistent touches. Now, as for McLaurin, any week he could have himself a pop-off game. It's just a matter of when the heck is that going to happen? Are we going to hold our breath for too long and he ends up choking us out, right? So that's the struggle there. So Aaron says either running back or wide receiver. Also, have Kelsey at tight end, no backup, so I'm not sure. What does that mean? I don't even. Well, Aaron, wasn't your question about Connor? You want to trade Connor away? Anyway, if we're trading Connor away and seeing what kind of value we can get in return for it, at wide receiver, if you're going to trade away Connor, I mean, he's been such a touchdown fiend this season that I'm thinking you could very easily get back Keenan Allen. if you're playing in a half PPR, not in a full PPR, of course. In a half PPR, you could probably get Keenan Allen in return. You could probably get DeAndre Hopkins, maybe. You might be able to go ahead and sneak your way into getting one of those Tampa Bay wide receivers if you're lucky enough. At running back, I mean, I don't think that many people want James Conner, even though he's played so well. He's still, when Chase Edmonds comes back, he still kind of goes back to being the secondary option in that offense and being more of the touchdown-dependent player there. Maybe, hopefully, that's not going to be the case, but we'll have to wait and see. For running back, I mean, if you can go ahead and make a trade here and go and honestly buy David Montgomery for the rest of the season, I would. That's my suggestion. All right, so right now, we're going to travel to Underdog Fantasy. Go ahead and, of course, draft some teams, look at some pick'ems, talk about it. If you guys haven't checked out Underdog Fantasy, there's a link down in the description of the video. Again, if you use promo code Andrew today, not only does it support me, but it helps you guys out. If you go ahead and use that promo code, Underdog Fantasy is willing to match up to $100 of your deposit. You drop 20, they'll give you 20. You drop 40, they'll give you 40. You drop 10, they'll give you 10. You go up, you're big baller, you drop 100, they'll give you 100. And you can get going with this week's overall games. All right, so just to kind of give you guys a little bit of an idea here. So let's go ahead. Let's travel to Mr. Underdog Fantasy right here. All right, so I'm over here. Really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and, I mean, look, there are pick'ems technically, right, for this week already set up. I'm curious. Let me see what we got here. Is there anything right now that, like, stands out? Like, honestly, this should be a smash. It should be. AJ Brown should destroy that number. He should, but I don't know if he's going to because, he's been weird as of late, to say the very least. Is there anything that's like an automatic smash play? I haven't looked at these numbers yet this week. Let's see. Holy moly. Like Jamar Chase over 5.5 receptions. I feel like that could very easily be an over. I think CJ Uzomah probably goes over the yardage count. I think Christian Kirk, especially if Kyler Murray's playing, that's an automatic play right there with 52.5. But anyway, really quickly, what I wanted to do before I get into the weeds of this is to go back to drafts and to go to the NFL and draft a team for this weekend and see what we can do here. I got to go ahead and move myself to the middle of the screen real quick. Give me a moment. You're going to see my cursor flying around. I'm going to get back to the chat in just a second, everybody. So just no problems. Give me a moment. Let's go ahead and move that there. And when this thing fills up, we'll be good to go. All right, let me get back to the YouTube chat here. All right, let's see here. A couple questions. Let's see here. Cam or Joe Burrow this week? I would play Joe Burrow there. What pick do I have? The 3rd overall? Okay, cool. We're looking for running back here. Okie dokie. What is this? Sorry, I put players in my squad from earlier comments. Thanks for the input. Okay, I'll go check that out in a little bit there, Aaron. Marquise Brown or Keenan Allen, full PPR. I'd rather play Keenan Allen this week. When does it start? 22 seconds. Hey, Andrew, just wanted to say thanks. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. I don't know what I did, but I'm glad I was able to help in any capacity that I was able to. DeAndre Swift, Zeke, AJ Dillon, or Joe Mixon. Pick 2 to start in week 11. Okay, so if we're picking 2 out of those group, we're playing Zeke and we're playing Joe Mixon. That's my suggestions there. And what do you think about who? Okay, yeah. So that's what I would do. I think the other 2 options of Swift and AJ Dillon are fantastic. I'm just wondering why you can't play one in the flex. Wait, I'm on the clock. Holy moly. Do I want to take a wide receiver here? Who's available? Yeah, I would rather play Dalvin Cook this week. All right, so let's do Dalvin Cook as my starting running back. McCaffrey went first as we anticipated. Tyreek Hill's going to go. A lot of people like to grab wide receiver, and I respect that idea, but I'm of the mind that I'm about to come back and take 2 stud running backs and then just, obviously soak up wide receivers later. Let's see here. Keenan says, half PPR, Tua, Chubb, Stevenson, Higgins, Bateman, Fryer, Muth. My bench is AP, Cam, Ty Johnson, Gronk. Torn between starting Tua and Cam, Muth, and Gronk. At this point, I'm confident enough starting Muth with Ben Roethlisberger regardless of the matchup. And if you're worried about Cam, you could play Tua and find to get, probably get decent value. I'm just worried that it may be a game in which the Jets are so bad that they're just running the ball the whole time and Tua doesn't do as much as a Cam would. And if Cam's running the ball and it's one of those matchups, my goodness, is he going to thrive? So that's why I'm saying Cam and Muth in that regard. They're just safer. A.J. Dillon or James Conner in a full PPR, I would play A.J. Dillon there, Keaton. Appreciate your advice. No problem, Flaming. All right, so I'm back on the clock here. A.J. Dillon's still here. Joe Mixon's still here. I'm probably going to play Joe Mixon here, but I am picking very soon. But there's guys that have probably are in need of wide receiver. Man, I would love to get Debo or is Mixon going to still be here when it comes around? I don't think so. So I'm just going to grab Mixon now before it is too late. And I'm going to address wide receiver on this turnaround because I know that the guy before me took wide receiver at Tyreek Hill. So he'll probably need a running back of some sort. The guy with the McCaffrey can't pick 3 running backs, so he's going to have to go into and dip in the wide receiver here. Or he's going to have to pick 1 running back and then probably a wide receiver. So I don't want to give him a chance of getting Mixon there. I'm happy with those 2 as a start here. Again, just so you guys are aware as to what the heck I'm doing, this is the Sunday contest, right? There's thousands of entries. You pay $5, you get into the draft. You go ahead and draft a team, 1 quarterback, 1 tight end, a minimum of 1 running back and 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, and you just let it go. And you draft your team, you get the points, and depending on how many points you score amongst the wide majority of players, you win a cash prize or you don't get anything because you didn't score enough. So again, that's why I'm building lineups here, trying to set myself up for success. These guys both went wide receiver. If they do me a solid and go ahead and allow Debo or A.J. Brown to come back down to me here, I'm going to be in a fantastic position. One of the 2. I get one of the 2 based on this, and that's beautiful. We'll take it. If I have a choice between one of the 2, I'm playing A.J. Brown, by the way. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Thank you very much. I'll take A.J. Brown there. Let's see here. Jorge sends in a question. Says, Stafford on a bye. We have, drop Mitchell, Judy, Montgomery, Gallup, Knox, OBJ, Javonte Williams. Don't want to drop anyone. Should I take the L at 8-2? No. I would drop Gallup. What? I would drop Gallup in a heartbeat to go get another quarterback. Not even close, in my opinion. Wow, skipped over Debo. Absolutely. I'll do it 10 times out of 10. Probably not 10 times out of 10. But for right now, yeah, I'm happy skipping over Debo. No problem at all. Mainly because A.J. Brown versus the Houston Texans is a different machine. Got Saquon. What did it say? Got Saquon for Mitchell and Ridley. Thoughts? Fantastic. I'll take that. Waddle or Jacobs, the flex? Probably Waddle, especially if you're in a full PPR. Miles says, I have all 3 of those players you just drafted. Well, Miles, you probably are in a good position this week to win then in that case, huh? Giovanni says, I have Mike Williams, DJ Moore. Okay, dude, that's a giant roster. Diggs, Godwin, Lockett, Devonta Smith, Van Jefferson, Aaron Jones, Kamara, Javonte, Sanders. Should I consider trading for another running back? Yeah, you should, because if your guys aren't healthy, then, you're not in the greatest position to succeed this week, unless you're just fine and you're going to make the playoffs anyway, Giovanni. Okay, let's see here. So a lot of people are going for quarterback relatively early. I typically tend to not do so because I can get a Lamar, a Hurts, a Kyler later on and probably get away with it. By the way, even in these drafts, if you pick a player that is not injured right now and is out by Sunday, you will be given an option to pick a different player. They'll like swap him. So like a couple weeks back, I picked AB, or this was like way back in the season. I picked AB. He didn't play. I got Mike Evans instead. He dropped 30 points for me against Tampa Bay, So there's options there. Ooh, what do we got here? DK Metcalf, Adam Thielen, Okay, so for right now, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take a tight end specifically. Give me Darren Waller this week. I can come back for wide receiver, and I'm not too worried about it because I think all the value here is, it's not relatively close. I think DK is the best option, but I also think that it can come back and I can kind of steal a sneaky wide receiver later on. Let's see here. All right, Christian sends in a question in the chat. Says, I have Kelsey and Ertz out in week 12. My backup is Pat Fryermuth. Waivers suck with Hurst, David Njoku, Browns tight ends in my last option. I mean, why don't you just play Pat Fryermuth? That's my question. Why not just play him? Isn't he just the outright better option? Okay, if this guy ahead of me, he's already picked 2 wide receivers. He could pick a third here. Who does he have on roster? He has Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, and DeAndre Swift. Took back Dak Prescott. He took Nick Chubb, who may not play this week, no problem. As for my team here, I need another wide receiver and a quarterback. I'm going to leave quarterback for last. I'm going to take DK Metcalf here, and I'm pretty happy with my damn team. I'll be totally honest. I'm going to draft a couple of these right now, but just giving you guys some insight there. Giovanni says I'm 9-1, and my next closest guy is 5-5. Holy moly. Damn. Okay. So in that regard, Giovanni, yeah, you should probably trade for some running backs. You should. I mean, you don't have to because you can wait for those guys to come back healthy, but why not go and see what you can get anyway? Let's see. I got offered Diggs for Mixon, full in a half PP. Or sorry, yeah, half PPR. Do I accept? If someone's gonna give you Diggs I got offered Diggs for Mixon. So is someone giving you Diggs? That's my question. I gotta just to make sure, because I'd rather have Mixon rest of the season. I'm on the clock here. Hurts, Rodgers, Kyler. I mean, based on what I believe this week, it's probably Jalen Hurts, but I'm kind of on that position where like I don't even know if that's the best way of going about this. I'm actually just like, how many seconds do I have? I'm gonna risk it a little bit here. I'm gonna flex the Burrow here. Again, you gotta have to do some crazy stuff, guys. Like just picking like a static roster isn't always gonna win you everything. Like typically I would roll with like Jalen Hurts, but I don't know what. I just got a feeling about this Cincinnati game versus what's it called? Bro, if you take Hurts, you have my whole team. Yeah, I didn't take Hurts because I thought to myself, if there's a scenario in which he just gets completely killed this week because they can't run the ball, then I'd be worried. But I'm just going to take Joe Burrow. It doesn't matter. Look, typically what I do, okay, 92.8 projected. That's not the greatest, to be honest. It really isn't. Typically, you need your team to score like 140 to win. But either way, not a bad draft. Let me go back to the main menu. Actually, what I'll do real quickly is let me come back down to earth. Let me go back to my live stream screen real quick. Be right there in a second. One moment. Okay, there we go. Let's move this back here. Again, that's Underdog Fantasy. There's a lot of fun to be had, guys. For those of you who may be in leagues where you're like, dude, it's coming to an end very quickly. I'm telling you, I play Underdog every week. My dad plays Underdog every single week, and he probably wins more than me, if you can imagine that. I go and I look at my dad's rosters, and I'm like, yo, what the heck happened here? It's like I used the promo code, and I drafted some teams, and we're looking good. And I'm like, and he drafted like Nelson Aguilar today. I was like, how the heck did you do this? What the heck is going on right now? But anyway, there's a lot of fun to be had. Use promo code Andrew. Underdog Fantasy is willing to match up to $100 of your first deposit. Thank you very much. Alrighty. Fair warning. Stream ends in about 10 minutes. I'm going to try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. After this, I'm going to play some Halo, and I will end my night at that. So let's see what we got here. Lockett or Michael Carter? If that's this week, I'd probably just play Michael Carter just to be safe, but Lockett has more upside. Thoughts on starting Gronk versus Hawkinson this week? I think I want to give Gronk a week to show me that he's still Gronk instead of what we saw last time. Because the last time Gronk came back early, he didn't play well. He left the game early with back spasms. If there's a potential in which he's going to still be hurt and they're forcing him back too early, or he's forcing himself back too early, I'm worried that may be a case and he may not be playing fully. Cheese Curse says, yo, I'm playing Halo right now. Listen, though, I got to get back on that grind. I mean, I haven't had a lot of time to play. I played like an hour maybe in this whole week combined on Steam. But yeah, it's just, I got to get into it, man. It's just too exciting to see another Halo game out. Bateman or Foreman? I'd play Bateman. Gaskin or Mark Ingram? I'd play Gaskin. If Kamara sits, I'd play Mark Ingram. Higgins or Jacobs? Most likely playing Jacobs. Let me read Christian's question again. I have Kelsey and Ertz out in week 12. My backup is Pat Freiermuth. Yeah, you just play Freiermuth and you're chilling there. Freiermuth or Fant rest of season? Fant. He has the easiest strength of schedule at tight ends rest of season. I know that doesn't mean everything, but it does make a difference. I can assure you that. Would you trade D-Hop, Thielen for Jefferson and Michael Pittman? D-Hop and Thielen for Jefferson and Michael Pittman. Yeah, I would. I would rather have Jefferson and Michael Pittman rest of the season. Pick one, Gaskin, Mitchell, or Clyde. Gaskin. For this week, I mean, technically if Mitchell plays, he could be a better play, but I think I'm just going to play Gaskin because he plays against the Jets, and it's a walk in the park there. Which two running backs would you start? Says Vic84. Gibby, Gaskin, or Mitchell? Gibby and Gaskin are probably the guys because I don't think Mitchell plays, guys. I mean, he had surgery on his finger this week. Why would they force him to play against Jacksonville of all teams? I think they could just run it over and pretty easily win that game. Let's see here. Yes, I have both Allen and Mahomes. I don't know who to start this week. Flip a coin. I mean, honestly, you've got two really good options. I think to mitigate your issue, I would trade one away and try to recoup some value from that, and then you're good to go. It's two tight ends, bro. You have to start two tight ends. You didn't even mention that in your message. Holy moly. Okay, so if you're picking up a waiver option in week 12, let me go look at the week 12 schedule there, Christian. My apologies. You didn't mention it was two tight ends that start. Holy moly. Okay, so if we're starting two tight ends based on the fact that Arizona and the Chiefs are on a bye week, I'm looking around and I'm thinking to myself, Cole Kmet, I doubt he's available, but if he is, play him against the Lions. I like Adam Trotman. If he has another decent week, I don't mind him against Buffalo. Mo Alley Cox or Jack Doyle versus Tampa Bay. Those aren't terrible options. Let's see here. I don't want to do that. We'll leave that alone. Let's look at those teams. No. Okay, everything kind of goes down the drain from there on out, and that's it. So yeah, the best options here are probably going after oh man, dude, Adam Trotman and Jack Doyle, probably your best options in that week. I don't really want to play those Cleveland tight ends. Maybe Austin Hooper is the best option, but is he a guaranteed smash play? Absolutely not. Saquon or DJ Moore at the flex? I'd play DJ Moore there, Roy. Antonio Brown rest of season? Question mark. If he's healthy, should be great. Let's see here. Hey man, stacked at wide receiver. Not sure whether to hold or trade. We have wide receivers are Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, and Diggs. AJ Brown, Deontay Johnson. Wow. Henderson's a running back, Gaskin, Javonte Williams, Robinson. Okay, yeah, I think you should trade at least one of these guys, right? So if you can technically, yeah, you got to trade one of them, at least one of them. So if you can move. Because when I look at this, I want Deebo, I want Tyreek Hill, and I want Diggs in the late run, maybe even AJ Brown. So Deontay Johnson can for sure be traded, minimum. And if you can take Deontay Johnson and take a running back and improve your position, then you should. I think you can wait this week, maybe get an incredible performance out of Gaskin, and then trade him on the high, because again, he just come off of a week in which he played against the Jets. And then try to improve running back because you certainly will need to. If your trade deadline is this week, you got to do it before then yes, you got to move one of those one of those wide receivers and try to improve running back, certainly. Beasley or Cole Beasley for flex? Great question, Marco. I would play Cole Beasley. Thank you. Let's see here. Hey, Andrew, I have Adams, Tyreek Hill, and Jefferson, but have the Muth. Why is it like a but? The Muth is not a problem, guys. He's a good tight end. Should I trade Jefferson and Muth for Waller? Absolutely not. No way. You're keeping your receivers. You're good to go, my guy. Adolfo says, Andrew, which two should I play or droppable for this week? Madison, Moss, Ridley, Chuba, Goddard, Ayuk, Jeff Wilson, or Dan Arnold? I think Ayuk is droppable, and I think Moss is droppable. Thank you, Adolfo. Debo or Chase rest of season? Debo. He's too good, man. He's too good. Chase is literally right behind him, though. Like, if I was to make rankings right now, I would most likely have a position in which Debo's number 4 and Chase is number 5 rest of season. Okay, it says, my team is Brady Najee, James Robinson, Adams, Hopkins, Kittle, Gaskin, Gordon at the flex with Devonta Smith and Hollywood on the bench. How do I improve? I mean, honestly, how do you improve? I don't know, because that's a really good team. Like, technically, your flex options are not the greatest, but they have good matchups going forward, which will give them the ability to be top tier talent. So I don't really want to move technically. I want to keep J-Rob, and I want to keep Najee. I want to keep Adams, hit Kittle and Hopkins, and I want to keep Brady. So unless you're going to go ahead and take Hollywood and move him with Gaskin for a better running back for your flex, I don't think there's nothing else to really do there at that position except for hold on and just play. Hey, Andrew, Thielen and Foreman for Deontay, a good deal or not? Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'll take that. Give me Deontay rest of the season there. Hey, Andrew, trade deadline isn't till next week, so I hold and try to make a move for a better running back or tight end, right? Before the deadline. Appreciate your advice. Yeah, that's what I would do. Look, trading is a lot about timing too, because if you're able to get a player when they're hurt still and you know they're going to come back, like a Kareem Hunt or a DeAndre Hopkins, and you can get into a position where you can buy a player that's cheap like Saquon or David Montgomery because they haven't had good performances as of late, and the player that's selling them to you is in a desperate position that they have to sell it. There are so many variables to trading, and a lot that you obviously will impose on your league that I won't be able to do on my leagues, because when Andrew comes knocking for a trade, everyone says, well, I'm not trading with Andrew because if he wants this player, then I know it's going to be good rest of the season. So I can't get away with some of these things, but it's certainly, look, if you can go ahead and perfectly, come up with a deal that someone's interested in, then yeah, you can very easily steal some running backs and wide receivers that have just been underwhelming as of late, and we know that are going to be great rest of the season. Let's see here. Renfro or Mitchell / Jeff Wilson. I'd 100% blackjack play either Mitchell or Jeff Wilson, whoever is active there. Hey, Andrew, quick follow-up question with Adams, Tyreek, Jefferson. I have Christian McCaffrey, Miles Sanders, and Carson. Is there any RBs I can target? Yeah, go after David Montgomery. That's who I want. I want David Montgomery 10 times out of 10. If you can get him, you should. All right, everybody. It is 9:58 p.m. PST over here. I appreciate you guys being here with me for the last, how long have we been live for? Hour and 45 minutes almost. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you guys coming out, asking questions, being engaging members of the community, helping each other in the chat, even though I wasn't able to get there to every single question. You guys are awesome. I appreciate that. Your support continues to keep me going in the right direction. Even though we're, only at week 11, we got a lot more weeks to go, guys. We got until the beginning of January, going into the NFL playoffs. Again, there's going to be content for the NFL playoffs. I don't know if you guys play in NFL playoff fantasy leagues, but over here, there's going to be a lot of stuff to be done. So again, check out Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Andrew. They'll be willing to match up to $100 of your first deposit for those of you who are interested. Again, I appreciate you guys. I'm going to go ahead. I got to work on a video for tomorrow. I got to play some Halo. I got to get it out of my system. And when that is all said and done, I'll be ready to hit the hay. Thank you guys. Until next time, which will be Sunday morning, 10 a.m. or 8 a.m., 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I appreciate you guys. Good night and good luck.